Hey, welcome back. If you don't want to hear me talk about the future of my content, go ahead and skip to the next segment in the timeline. For those of you that stayed, I want to thank you guys for the incredible support I received in my first Cyberpunk video. While I still feel like I just got lucky, all the comments were super positive and frankly just made me smile. I want to keep making content, but as a person, I'm just pretty all over the place, and I'm worried I might alienate some of my viewers if I start making content outside of modding or outside of Cyberpunk. So, with that said, I'm not really sure what's next for the channel. I've changed the icon and the name to more properly reflect myself and make them less specific to Dark Souls or Cyberpunk, since that's not really what the channel is going to be about moving on. But regardless of whether you end up staying or going, thanks for your time here. Let's get on to the video. My criteria for what kind of mods I end up including in these videos is pretty simple. I try to select mods that add features I think should have been in the game to begin with, and mods that don't have a ton of downloads yet. There will be some exceptions for mods that I genuinely like the GTA travel mod from last episode, but I'm hopefully showing you something new and something fresh. Sometimes this means I'll show a mod that isn't fully fleshed out yet, but the reason I'm highlighting it is to put it on your radar because I think these are the mods that are going to show the promising future of Cyberpunk 2077. Let's start with my favorite subject, getting chromed up. In my first video, I showed off my love for cyberware, and today we're taking that a step further with the Cyberlegs mod by Brother Pazzo. While there are other mods that you can install that will give you chrome skin, this is one of the few mods that gives you, well, cyberlegs. Let's start with the skin part of the mod. The skin part of this mod only affects your body, so you don't go full Lizzy Wizzy, which I appreciate compared to some of the other mods that give chrome skin that affect everything including your face. There are some issues with this, as if you're not using CyberArms, there can be weird seams around your collarbone, and some of the lighting can look awkward in menus, particularly the chrome option. As far as the titular cyberlegs go, well, I don't think it's for everyone. I'm not even sure if it's for me. Something about it just kind of wigs me out, but I guess that's the point. Fortunately, as soon as you equip shoes, your feet look normal, which is nice if you don't want to be a spider freak 24/7. I did notice issues where low-top shoes and high-ankle pants can give you invisible shins, so you may have to adjust some of your outfits if you want to use this mod. In general, this mod isn't perfect yet, but I do think it offers something that should have been in the base game, a way to customize your character to points of almost uncanniness and just taking it too far. That's Cyberpunk to me. Let's stick with Chrome for a second. Next, we're going to talk about two mods. One is an update to a mod I mentioned in the first video, and the other is a mod that gives us a workaround to be able to equip multiple pieces of clothing at the same time. First, the update. CyberArm Collection by Alvarix PT recently got an update I alluded to in my first video. Specifically, I mentioned an update for separate options for left and right arms, as well as an update for male V. Well, that update has come. There are now CyberArms for male V, and you can choose between left and right arms. Now, while this mod does give you the flexibility to change your cybernetic arms as easy as changing your clothes, it does take up a head, outer chest, or outfit slot. However, with this new mod from Spawn Zero, Equip Multi-Slot, you'll be able to equip multiple items on the same slot. Now, you can finally wear a mask and sunglasses. In combination with the CyberArm Collection, you'll be able to mix and match arms and it won't take up an entire slot. Unfortunately, it's still a bit janky, as sometimes arms don't want to mix together, particularly if they use the same model but different textures. Additionally, the Spawn Zero mod also has issues with photo mode, as whatever items you've equipped over the quote-unquote real slot won't appear there. There is a workaround though if you use the appearance menu, but it's just not super convenient. And maybe the final nail in the coffin is that both of these mods don't really play nice with the wardrobe function, usually by just not rendering the arms or the extra equipped items. While these mods still aren't perfect, we're making lots of progress, and it kind of reminds me of Fallout 4 when people were trying to figure out how to equip multiple different sets of clothing at the same time. It's still janky, but fingers crossed that it'll get better. Kicking things up a notch is WannaBe EdgeRunners by DJ Kovrik. Named after the anime that probably brought you back to the game in the first place, this mod seeks to introduce a new mechanic to give us chrome junkies a hard time. Cyber Psychosis is now a true mechanic and gives some of your choices in Night City new context. Introduced in the mod is the Humanity Bar, basically a health bar for your character's mental state. The more chrome you have, the more your humanity decreases. The more people you kill, the more your humanity decreases. Once your humanity hits 0, you're going to be hit with tons of visual effects screwing with your opticals, but you're also going to receive buffs to your character like movement speed, simulating the rage a cyber psycho goes through. Depending on how you configure the mod, you can even black out, waking up somewhere random in the world with dead bodies surrounding you. The only way to prevent or treat these effects is to take neuro blockers bought from rippers, which they will gladly sell you for an incredibly high price. These new features had a genuine impact in the way I played. While it didn't stop me from installing just about every single piece of chrome I could imagine onto my body, it did affect how I treated missions. Aimlessly killing people would send my character into a mental spiral, meaning that I couldn't just be a murder hobo and I had to actually knock people out more often or just try and remain stealthy and not be seen at all. Sometimes this was unavoidable though and meant taking neuro blockers as a necessary part of completing a mission. While I'm not sure that everything is quite balanced right, with cyberware not degrading humanity enough and killing people degrading humanity too much, I still think it's an interesting and promising mod that pushes the game into new territory. Speaking of new territories, have you ever wondered what your game might sound like if you lived in a different country? Or maybe you wonder what the game would sound like if everyone spoke their home language. Well, this mod, Cosmopolitan Night City by Nico TTN, is exactly what you need. It gives you the flexibility to adjust what languages NPCs and even V speaks through the game. Pretty simple install where you just install the voice files you want and boom, suddenly Mama Wells speaks Spanish, Wakako speaks Japanese, Misty speaks Polish.
Wiesz, na nowo ułożyć sobie życie. A u ciebie? Raczej u was.
Random NPCs will even speak in different languages, and some characters will switch between languages, like Delamain. While I wouldn't recommend this for a first playthrough, I think this adds a level of immersion to Night City where you can imagine yourself being in a world where you actually rely on cybernetic subtitles to help you understand what people are saying. Unfortunately, this doesn't have that cool translating effect the subtitles have when you play through the story, but it's still cool to hear some voice lines you'd never get a chance to hear before. While we're on the topic of immersion, this next segment will address two mods that work great together. The first is Kiroshi Optical's Crowd Scanner by Reki72. It just does one small thing. When you scan civilians, you'll get a very simple and unique background to what their life is like. It reminds me a lot of hacking into people's phones in Watch Dogs, where you would get a little idea of what that person was like. Sometimes it actually leads to some compelling little stories, like this moment I caught where this police officer seems to be talking to this suspected criminal. The next mod, if you can even really call it that, reintroduces a feature buried into Cyberpunk2077 that was for some reason left disabled. The Astonishing Crowd Density mod by T-Duality gives you one more option in the crowd density setting to increase crowds significantly. While I don't have the resources to calculate exactly how much of a difference this is, it was pretty notable in my playthrough, and Cyberpunk felt well and truly populated. And with the Opticals mod, it was fun to look around at people and see if their background matched their appearance. Or maybe figure out what brought them to Jig Jig Street or whatever other silly idea came into my brain. A very popular mod at the moment is System EX, a mod that lets you install multiple operating systems so you can equip Berserk and Sandevistan and a Cyberdeck. While this is great and all, it's frankly a bit overpowered. An alternative that you can consider is Hybrid Cyberdeck Sandevistan System by TI200. This mod adds hybrid operating systems combining Cyberdeck and Sandevistan, but toning down the features of each one, giving you a compelling choice to make. While it's not adding Berserk functionality at the moment, most players are running Cyberdeck and Sandy anyways, so this could be a great balanced option for those of you who want to run both. It's simple to install, and you can even download an Atelier shop to make purchasing the implants easier. This doesn't come cheap though. The highest tier hybrid deck made by Arasaka will set you back a whopping 100,000 eddies. In my previous video, I talked about Legendary CyberArm Collection by TI200, a simple mod that added legendary variants to implants that didn't have one, so you can have that juicy orange tag. Well, in that mod, the Kiroshi implant was simply given the legendary tag with no change. However, thanks to an update to that mod, that feature was made optional, which means that we can now install the Kiroshi Optics Expanded mod by Kingpin26. It's a simple mod which adds 2 legendary Kiroshi implants with new features, rather than just changing the tag of one of the base game models. These can be purchased from our favorite ripper, Victor Vector, for an absolute metric ton of eddies. Still, not as bad as the hybrid Cyberdeck though. Preem gear costs preem eddies, I suppose. Finally, a mod that I want to put on your radar, but unfortunately I can't cover, is JWL Cyberpunk Blackwall by Umbra Jewels, a successor to Hardcore 22 that seeks to drive a balance between the RPG-heavy, spongy base game and the too reactionary Twitch shooter of Hardcore 22. The added features go really in depth, and just about every element of combat, even ammo types, has been reworked. Unfortunately, if I would have recorded this video before update 1.61, I would have had the chance to try it out, but for whatever reason it seems to not be working for me. Additionally, I also have well over 125 mods installed, so I could just be running into conflicts, but either way, I haven't been able to get it to work yet. I still wanted to talk about it in this video, and I wanted to get this video out sooner rather than later. So I encourage you to give the mod a shot and see if it works for you, see if it's something that you might like, or at the very least, keep your eye on it, and hopefully in the future it gets updated to be more compatible with 1.61. Like Project Nevada, I think this mod has the potential to make this game an incredibly compelling action RPG, and I think that as time continues, more mods like Hardcore 22 and Blackwall are going to come out that are going to make this game even better. I hope you found something new to install on your mod list here, and thank you for the support in the previous video. If there's any mods you think I haven't seen yet, feel free to drop them in the comments. I read and appreciate each one. Also, like and subscribe.